Good morning to you. This is the Wednesday, January 21st edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Meteorologist Matthew East here with you. A lot to talk about again today. First of all, there's your final high temperatures from yesterday. What a nice day across the region. Highs well up into the 60s in many spots all around the region, way above average and really not too terribly far off the record highs in some spots. And this morning, it's not bad. These are 5 o'clock hour temperatures, 41 in Charlotte, Greensboro, and Raleigh, 42 in Fayetteville, 46 down in Columbia. Here's the setup today. A little clipper system zipping through. That's bringing a little bit of cloud cover early today, but that's going to erode away, I think, fairly quickly. And we're going to be left with a really good-looking weather setup again today, although not as warm as what we've seen the past couple of days. All right. There we go. Just look at the radar again during the 3 and 4 o'clock hours. You had a little bit of sprinkle activity there through Wilkes and Surry County, but that's pretty much gone now. Pretty quiet until you get up to West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, then back further to the Great Lakes region. Some mainly light precipitation up that way, but again, it's still a pretty quiet setup over most of the eastern part of the country. It was another warm day across the southeast yesterday. Birmingham at 66, 71 in Jacksonville, 68 in New Orleans and Pensacola for a high, and we again had highs well up into the 60s around our area too. Really a pretty good looking Wednesday weather setup. Partly cloudy sky conditions. Highs not as warm as yesterday, but still not bad at all considering it's the middle stages of January. Now, as we get into tomorrow, our next area of low pressure taking shape over the Texas and the northwestern Gulf Coast. And we begin to see some clouds fanning overhead, and a little bit of a cooler setup continues to bleed on in. Again, still not bad, but there's you can see a lot of 50s for highs tomorrow. And then we get into Friday. That's when we see the precipitation finally building in with this storm system. Precipitation could roll in certainly as early as Friday afternoon and maybe earlier down in South Carolina, and then it really settles in overnight Friday night. Now, the type of precipitation still a forecast challenge in many spots. First of all, there's the liquid equivalent amounts from the European model, 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half of rain, or rather of liquid equivalent in many spots. Now I'm going to show you the detailed modeling in just a second, but here's just a representation of the NAM, the North American model, one of our short-range models here. You see that precip spreading in Friday, and initially up toward the I-40 corridor and back into the mountains, it's a period of some sleet and snow before the Piedmont largely kicks over to rain, and then we see how much cold air aloft crashes in behind it. Now, you have to take these maps with a grain of salt. Sometimes you get some sleet that's counted as snow, but the European actually being pretty aggressive with the snow output down into the northwestern and western sections of the Piedmont. The GFS model looks like that. And then there's the, here comes the NAM computer model representation as well. Now let me show you the detailed modeling here. Let's start with the Canadian, okay? And what you see here is the Canadian model precip and its depiction of precipitation types. Now, one thing to note is, one thing that's developed on the modeling over the past 24 hours is a decent little high pressure here initially, funneling in some chillier air as the precipitation first moves in. All right, so this is the Canadian model, and this is going to be valid here as Friday unfolds for us. And you can see there initially, as the precip moves in, you have a mixture of some sleet, freezing rain, and a little snow in the mountains and through the northwestern part of North Carolina, into the northern foothills at least. And it keeps that entire area I just mentioned there, foothills, mountains, as wintry precip through the duration of the event. Now, let me show you that. That's the estimated snow chart from the Canadian model. That's just where it's representing the opportunities of some snow. Now, let me go to the European right here. All right, I'll step you through what it's showing. This is valid Friday morning. We go out to early Friday afternoon. Low pressure centered right about there. And again, you notice there's that high pressure centered over Virginia into northern North Carolina, funneling in some initially chilly air. There's the precipitation really settling in Friday afternoon into Friday evening. And at that point in time, there's your 850 millibar temperatures. And I know that might be a little tough to see, but you have temperatures at 850 just below freezing in the mountains, and then right at freezing there through many spots in the foothills up through Yadkin, Surry, Virginia border counties, and a degree or two above in the Triad. And you keep stepping forward in time then. This is overnight Friday night. on the European model, and then there you go. The system begins to head out to sea Saturday morning. All right. Now this was the 0Z run of the GFS. And this was as this precipitation was moving in Friday. And again, I know this is a little bit of a zoomed out perspective, but you can see that the mountains, seeing that wintry type of precip, and then you get out to Saturday morning on the 0Z run of the GFS. And again, the mountains stay wintry precip types with this system moving on through. All right, so let me show you back to the European model. That is what it's indicating on the, now this is from these maps here you've seen recently, courtesy of weatherbell.com. And a lot of times with these snow charts, it will count other types of wintry precip as snow as well in these charts. So you have to take these charts with a grain of salt. But it is indicating a decent amount of wintry type of precip all the way down to the I-85 corridor with this system. All right, let's see. I think I stuck the new GFS chart in here as well. So this was the 60 run just in-house. And it's probably doing a decent job in terms of the areas of precipitation types here. This is Friday evening. And then you go overnight Friday night. And then continuing into Saturday morning. Now one thing to note here, right here, is again, I think you're looking at a scenario, this is really tough to diagnose because you're right on the line here, but I think south and east of I-85, this is almost certainly an all-snow event. But right around the I-85 corridor and then up through, say, into parts of the foothills, that's where it's questionable, and you could see maybe some snow or sleet initially and then some rain, maybe a little bit of snow and sleet at the end. But I really do think the mountains and the northern foothills have a really good chance of staying all or mostly wintry precip with this system. Let me show you the 6C NAM before I wrap things up. And again, there you go as the precip moves in. Even triangle regions actually seeing an initial burst of sleet or snow. And then you see that mountains in the northern foothills staying wintry types of precipitation as this system moves through. And notice again, it's very close through the northwest Piedmont, around the Triad, as this system rolls on through. So really a tricky system to diagnose. We're going to keep fine-tuning this forecast as we move forward in time. And I just want to show you a couple other things before I wrap up the video. This was off the previous 0Z run of the GFS. Still looks quite active in the longer range. That's a healthy cold air damming setup around February 1st as another system moves in. And then at the end of the run there on February 5th, another potent system with a lot of cold air around the region. So I still think there's chances ahead for winter fun and games too. All right, that is it for today's edition of the video. Everybody have a wonderful day and God bless.